Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amanda.
Welcome to Filtered Through Faith.
Today we have a wonderful guest with us. We have the lovely Arnetia, who's going to share with us her beautiful journey to motherhood. So we're so excited about our first guest in the studio and our first topic with a guest. It's a very important journey and not as easy and guaranteed and granted for everybody. And so Anisha's just going to share with us her journey. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Anisha?
Sure.
So like they said, I'm Arnetia. I'm currently 30. I'm married for 6 years this year, and I've got one baby already born, and she'll be 4 in October, and this one that's still cooking, that I'm assuming by the time this comes out, he'll be here already. And yeah, like you said, the journey to motherhood hasn't been the most straight path for me personally. So I'm excited to talk about it and share.
Can you share a bit about your journey with endometriosis? When were you diagnosed and what was the process like?
Endometriosis, for those who don't know, it's a reproductive disease, yes, but it doesn't only affect the reproductive organs. So essentially what it is that it's like your uterine lining, tissue like your uterine lining, that grows everywhere except your uterus. And you can't see it on scans. So I started going to the gynae at about 15 years old with really, really bad pain and struggling with that. And at 15, you're not really wanting to do surgeries. And the gynae that I had at the time was also very conservative, which was great for me. And then I just dealt with the pain, went on the pill, all these.
So you have, sorry, Anisha. So I'm somebody who knows nothing about this. So you're 15 and you have like really bad menstrual cramps. Like
Yes.
it's really bad.
Yes.
Okay.
So the other thing with endometriosis is that it's not only on your period, right? So you can be in pain when you're ovulating, you can be in pain at random times.
Okay.
And the thing that I'm learning now is the older I get, there's more things that affect a flare up.
Okay.
So it's not just your period, it's not just your ovulation.
Okay.
That's why I said it's called a reproductive disease, but it's not just your reproductive organs that cause issues to flare up. So we kind of knew what to expect when the pain started. But with that being said, it still took us about 6 years to get diagnosed. Because the only way to diagnose endometriosis is through a laparoscopic surgery.
Okay.
And the laparoscopic surgery is when they do 3 to 4 incisions in your stomach and they explore. So they put a camera in and they are like literally looking through everything, lifting up organs to try and see, do you have the disease? And after that surgery, I was then diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, and I have severe, which is stage 4 endometriosis.
And so when did you got married? Did you find out after you were married and you were now trying to, or you knew before you got married?
I knew before I got married. So I got diagnosed at 21 and I got married, I think, 24. So I knew already and I'd been on the journey on my own already. And it's also something that I had discussed with him before I was even his girlfriend.
I was just about to say, now it means you have to have this type of conversation.
Exactly.
That there's a possibility. Is it that there's a possibility that you could not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. So one of the main side effects of endometriosis is infertility or fertility struggles.
Okay.
And so when we were talking and, getting to know each other, dating, I told him already, I was like, I have this disease, we may or may not be able to have kids, and is that something you'd be able to deal with? Are you okay with that? And he was fine with it. I don't think it really
hit home.
Yeah, because it's not something he understood, and his family, they're super fertile. They just like look at each other and they fall pregnant. They're like, I see you, And he was like, I got this. So I don't think, that it was something that he immediately understood, but I think he knew when I said like this might be a problem, it was maybe a journey he was willing to walk with it.
So at this point, sorry, Sammy, I'm like asking all
Go
the
ahead.
questions.
No, go ahead.
At this point, in your mind, because you're still a pretty young girl, in your mind, have you resolved to the fact that there's a possibility you might not be a mom?
No. So I always had faith that I would be a mom, and I knew I would be a mom. I just knew my journey there would be harder. I never ever said I wouldn't have. I had resolved in my mind that I might only have one. But I also had a really good doctor at the time. I have an even better one now. But I had a really good doctor at the time who was very blunt and honest and
Yes.
and kept it 100% real with what was going on. But I always knew that I was going to be a mom.
Okay.
The journey there might not have been the simplest or the most traditional, but there was always something in the back of my mind that was like, there's nothing that's going to stop me from being a mom at some point.
That's great, Faith.
Yeah.
So how has faith helped you in your uncertainty?
When I got engaged, we were told that if I don't have a baby by the time I'm 27, I probably won't. So at that point, we already were like, we're going to be those people who get married and immediately have a baby. That's just how it's going to happen. And I think that was our first test in our marriage and my first test of faith in my fertility journey, because I got married in October and in December I fell pregnant for the first time. Naturally, no intervention from anyone or anything. I mean, I was barely tracking my cycle even. And then a few short weeks later, I lost the baby. And that was the hardest test of faith and the first time that I went through real struggles with my faith in regards to my fertility. And it was hard to reconcile the God we know that takes care of us and that only wants the best for us with the God that will give me this disease and then also give me that joy and take it away so quickly. You know, so trying to figure out how to still trust him and trust in his plan was hard. But something that I learned in that time is that your relationship with God is just that. It's a relationship. It never has to be linear. It never just has to be, I just trust you. I can be angry at God. I can be sad. I can be upset with what he's doing. I can be overjoyed. I can be elated with what he's doing and what he's brought into my life. But I can be angry. And if I need to be angry at God, he's also not going anywhere. You know, he's going to stay there. And that was the first time that I think that I really learned to be in touch with my relationship with God in that way. Like, why are you doing this to me? Show me why you're doing this to me so that I can stay faithful in you and not falter and say, oh no, he doesn't exist. Now he took my baby, you know, because that's hard. I mean, you guys are both moms, you know, from the moment you find out that you're pregnant, you're excited, you're planning, you are joyful, you are going through everything. You go, okay, I'm due in September, so September, this is what the weather's going to be like, and then they'll be like this, and then you know, you're planning everything from the moment you find out. There's no pause.
And at this point, you guys are only 3 months married, so you're dealing with like newlyweds, getting to know each other, getting to live in each other's space, and still the loss of a baby.
And it was hard for, like you're saying, it was hard for us in our marriage also, because I really felt for my husband as well, because everyone worries about the mother, the woman who's going through it. And as the man, you don't know also which side, or, like, how do I take care of my wife, but also feel what I'm feeling. So it was the biggest test of my faith, was that loss initially. But I lost the baby in Jan, so it was a baby girl, and we named her Sloan.
You already knew the gender?
So what we did, we didn't know before we lost her, but they sent off the baby for testing, and then we found out afterwards. And I just felt that I needed to do something real. Like I needed something to make it real, because I knew she was there, and I was overjoyed, and I needed something to make her real. And it's not like you can have a funeral or anything like that, you know. And so I named her. We named her. Because Sloan means warrior. And the journey in our miscarriage was also so difficult because I started bleeding and then I got admitted and I was on bed rest for a week in the hospital. So she was fighting, she was trying, the doctors were fighting, they were trying. But at the end of the day, it
So she really was in just a warrior in that.
absolutely. So yeah, we named her, and then
Do you feel like going through something like that so early on in your marriage like accelerated your guys' marriage growth and like just your growth as a couple and how close you are as a couple and things like that?
absolutely. I always say that in our first 2 years of marriage, we had about 10 years of marriage. We were like, because in our first 2 years of marriage, we went through miscarriage, infertility struggles, COVID, and then I got retrenched. So there was then that job struggles. So in that first year to 2 years of marriage, we went through everything that people sometimes spend 10 to 15
20
years
years sometimes,
before
yeah.
they even unemployment or nobody goes through a pandemic in their marriage, that was a first for all of us as a united front. But when the pandemic hit, we were only married for like 3-4 months, 5 months maybe. And at the same time, we grieving. And now when the pandemic hit, we had just about started talking about our fertility journey and what the next steps are going to look like. And now it's like, do I want to bring a child into a pandemic? So now you have a whole new conversation of, do we delay? But I don't have the time to delay. My organs are not allowing for delays. I'm not the type of woman that can say, okay, let's put it off for a year and see what happens.
And try again.
Yeah, I don't have that luxury. I have to get back into it.
And how long after did you guys fall pregnant with Gia?
It was about a year and a half. It took a very long time after.
Naturally as well?
So, it's technically, yes. Technically, it was a natural pregnancy, but I don't always say it was natural for the fact that we were on fertility treatment before we fell pregnant with her. And I had a surgery about 2 months before I fell pregnant with her.
Okay.
So the way she came to be was natural, but there were a lot of interventions that took place ahead of time to ensure that she could come to be.
Okay.
She was absolutely a miracle baby, and I have 2 miracle babies now, which is crazy to even think about. Yeah, exactly. And every child is a miracle, of course, but there's a different layer that happens in our family. And honestly, when I found out I was pregnant, we were supposed to be scheduling our IUI, which is a intrauterine insemination, that month. So it just kind of happened in that miraculous way where everything fell into place in God's way, I guess. It's the only way to say it.
And Anisha, can I ask, and let me know if this is too intrusive, but if you in your early 20s, I'm assuming that you're not wealthy or you haven't been born with a silver spoon in your mouth. And now it's like you're under pressure to have a kid. Most of us are waiting because it's like, I first want to have a house. I first want to have this dream car. I first want to do this and this and this. And now it's like you can't wait for whatever financial goals you have. You have to put in, and kids are not cheap.
Yes.
So you have to plan that, okay, we married, which was probably not a cheap thing to do either. It's like we had a wedding, and straight after a wedding, we're trying to get pregnant. And trying to get pregnant is, I imagine, also not cheap because you're having to go for these surgeries and all of these medical expenses. And unless you're on like the highest band of the medical aid, they're not covering every single thing, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit through that and how you manage that as a newlywed, financially wise. Like, what is that?
So when we just got married, we were really lucky. My parents paid for most of our wedding. So luckily we didn't have that debt going into our marriage. We also, my parents had a cottage, and we stayed in the cottage at my parents' on my parents' property. So from a housing perspective, we weren't paying exorbitant bonds or that kind of thing. So that we were really lucky in that sense. And then from just the costing of fertility treatment, Again, really lucky that I had gotten a job. I was working at the time at one of the big four auditing firms, and their medical aid is called the Chartered Accountants Medical Aid Fund.
Oh,
And it is the only one of the only medical aids in the country that covers fertility treatment. So it all kind of aligned in such a beautiful way that when I was going through most of the fertility treatment and most of the, for my daughter specifically, most of the costing of it, it was covered. And we were just, we barely had to pay. I think there was one time when we had like one big bill and I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part,
For the
the Lord
most-
made the provision.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how it has impacted your daily life?
My endometriosis.
Yes.
Oh.
Just everything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, obviously you said that you have to be bedridden when you do fall pregnant and when you go for the treatments, or is it the surgeries?
So it really does affect your life in so many different ways. So there's something called endo fatigue, which is like, if you think about that aching, tired that you feel when you're pregnant,
Yeah.
that's kind of what endo fatigue is like as well. So, you know, like when you're pregnant and you're just like, if I don't sleep right now, I might actually die.
It feels like it.
You know, like if I do not lay down right now,
Yeah.
things are not going to be good for anyone.
Yeah.
That's what endo fatigue feels like. But I think the way that it affects me the most, that other than fertility, that really makes it hard for me to deal with having the disease, is that it affects my life as a mom. So I can't always be on my feet with her because I'll be in pain, or I'll be very bloated. I'll just need to I don't have the energy to go as far. No one has the energy to go as much as a 3-year-old in general, but I don't have that energy to keep
Okay.
going with her. So the hardest thing for me to navigate with my endometriosis in my day-to-day life is my motherhood. Because I can have a nap when the endo fatigue hits. I can take a painkiller when I'm in pain. I can, when one of the side effects is also really bad bloating, and it's called endo belly. So sometimes I can look 5 months pregnant even when I'm not. I can change my outfit if you know that
Yeah.
happens. I can go have a hot bath, whatever the case is, whatever that.
When it affects only you.
Yes, but when it affects my motherhood, that I think has been the hardest road to navigate with the disease.
You have kept your joy through it all. I mean, I follow you on socials, so I kind of see what your life is like. So can you speak to us about that? And how do you keep your joy every day when you are in pain and your daughter wants to play and you're having to say no? How do you just keep that joy alive?
I think it's also very important when you have a disease to not always be joyful. And I say that because sometimes you feel this pressure to be joyful, to be, to just keep pushing through. But when those moments hit, I allow myself to be frustrated. I allow myself to be sad about it, or angry. Whatever the feeling is in the moment, I allow myself to be that, because if I am always trying to be joyful, it will always feel forced, and then I won't truly enjoy the moments when I am okay. I won't truly enjoy the moments where I am pushing through and struggling, but there's just only so much I can do.
Yes.
But I also recognize the fact that what I have is what I prayed for. I'm living in an answered prayer. You know, my life is not a life I would choose in terms of my disease. But I prayed for a daughter. I knew I was gonna be a girl mom. And that was like one of my first conversations with my husband was like, do you want kids? Yes, I want kids. I know I'm gonna have a daughter. I know it, like, and it's funny because when I was pregnant the first time with Gia, we had a gender reveal and it was a boy. And then we went back to the doctor and they're like, no, it's a girl. and I felt it. When that blue smoke came out, I was like, no.
Something
Sense.
This is not what we spoke about. It just felt wrong. So I knew I was going to be a girl mom. And so I always also just remind myself that as much as I have this disease, the life that I'm living with a extremely supportive husband. Like he really personifies in sickness and in health, and he's had to live a lot of in sickness, unfortunately. And being the caregiver of someone that is chronically ill is as difficult a journey as being the chronically ill person, because he has to be 100% a lot of the time. When I'm 10%, I'm 5%, I'm barely 1%, you know. So having such a supportive husband, having the child that I prayed for, it's all brings you back to finding the joy and staying in the moment of joy. And then it brings you out of those moments of being angry, of being frustrated, of being just overwhelmed with why me, you know. And I think also I don't make myself feel bad for having those moments of why me.
Yes.
Because why? You know, like, okay, God, I get it. I'm strong. I'm one of your strongest soldiers. Yeah. But can we just take a little bit of the battle away? You know, have those moments. It's not a bad thing.
To feel your feelings.
Yes. And I sometimes feel like, as so I'm Catholic, but as Christians, as people who believe in God, we sometimes feel scared to question God or question what's happening in our lives. And you know, he's all knowing, and he is, but he's also, like I said, it is a relationship.
He's a personal God.
You know, he is our father, and with our fathers here on earth, we question if your father says something to you that you don't agree with or you don't understand. Why, daddy? How about no? You know, so why can't we do that with our father in heaven? You know, why can't we have those conversations? Why can't you question it and find a way to make it make sense for both of you? Because at some point, in some way, he's gonna answer. He's gonna let you know why you are walking this.
And sometimes not always the answer you want, but he gives you the strength to walk through whatever his no, or whatever his, you know, whatever his response is. He gives you the he arms you with it. What was I gonna ask you now? Oh, your little baby on the way.
Yes.
So the journey with him, was that quite similar to with your daughter?
Yes and no. So with him, initially we were back and forth with whether we were going to have another one for multiple reasons, but also, like I said, I had always almost known that I might only be able to have one. So when she came, I was just super content. I was just like, I have my one. Whether I'm going to have another one, I don't know, but I have my one. And then it's so funny, I had at the place I was working previously, I had a conversation with a colleague who said, the only person in your life that can relate to you completely is your sibling. And that was the thing that was like, because I was going back and forth, I was like, let me know, God, am I supposed to have another? My doctor was like, it's time to start trying now. You know your situation. Family was like, are you going to go for the second one? You know, and then my husband and I were just like, shouldn't we? We know it's going to be another journey. We know it's going to be a struggle. What should we do? And I have this conversation with her, and she's pregnant at the time, and she already was saying she's going to have another one no matter what. And I was like, okay, wait until you have the first one. You'll see if you know, people change after they have the first one. And she said to me, the only person that can relate to your life in every way is the sibling. And that is why I know I'll have another one. I'm like, okay, God, message received, I got you. Because she was like, you know, you can complain to your cousins, you can complain to your friends, but only your sibling knows that mommy never let you to put a lot of Oros in your cup before you add the water. And
they get you.
They're the only person. Like, okay. And when your parents pass away, the only person who knows the pain you're going through is your sibling. People can relate, and they can understand from losing a parent or that kind of thing, but they don't know unless they're your sibling. And I was like, okay, message received, got it. And then went home and told my husband, I was like, this is what I heard, we're gonna have another one. Like, all right, let's do it. And then we started the journey. After I had my daughter, my endometriosis definitely progressed a lot quicker. So in the time that I basically had a surgery for every year of my daughter's life. So I've had 4 surgeries and she's going to be 4 this year. So it's a lot. So in that time I've had all those surgeries, and if once you're trying for a year, you get diagnosed with infertility.
Okay.
Which I already had fertility struggles, but when it got to the year point, we were like, okay, you're officially diagnosed with infertility.
Okay.
Secondary infertility, because I already had a baby. And then last year, I actually had 2 surgeries in 1 year, which shouldn't happen. And then we just had to make the really tough decision about what are we going to do? How are we going to get to what we're trying to achieve? And so we had to do IVF. And we went through a full cycle of IVF. We did everything. We implanted, did the whole thing, and we lost both. We implanted 2 because we thought it would increase our chances. And we lost both. And that loss knocked me. And I think with my first loss, it was easier because I kind of just got back up and went back on the journey and said, I'm going to have a baby and I'm going to get back on it, and I know it's going to happen. This loss knocked me in so many ways because I was like, at that point, I've had 2 surgeries this year. Can it just happen? Why isn't it happening? Why doesn't my body just work? Why can't it just work? You know? And it was a bit more beautiful because in this loss, I didn't have that massive crisis of faith that I had in my first loss, but it really knocked me. Like, I was just like, I don't know if this is ever gonna happen for us. And then the IVF process in and of itself is very difficult. It's really such a struggle. It's hormones, it's money. I mean,
It's a lot of money.
IVF is so expensive.
How old were you then? Because I remember you said your doctor said that you had until 27.
Yeah.
And you said now you're 30 and you're pregnant. So at what age was this?
So I had Gia at 26, just in time. And then IVF when I was 29. And then this is 30.
And that's God.
That's
on God.
Yeah, this is all God. There's no way to explain this pregnancy other than God. There's
So
nothing.
then you lost the 2 that were implanted with IVF.
Yes.
And so at that, you already at a point where you know it's implanted, it's successful, you're basically pregnant.
Yeah, so in the IVF community, people refer to it in different ways. Some of them call them M babies because they, like the embryos when they implant them. But essentially, from the moment that they've implanted the embryo, you're pregnant.
Okay.
And then you have a 2-week wait to take a pregnancy test to know whether it's stuck or not.
Okay.
And so in my 2-week wait, I started bleeding. And so I think it was also very triggering for me from my first loss, because that's exactly how I lost Sloan. Started the bleeding and the cramping, and then luckily with that loss, I didn't have to go in for a procedure because it was so early. But yeah, then I lost both of them, and so I'm also just lucky that this journey has taken me on a road where both of my specialists are faith-based as well. So they're also Christian, and they also devoutly believe in God. And I mean, these are medical professionals. They work with science, and even then they say science can only take you so far. You know. And so my IVF doctor was just like, we still have faith. My chances were slim to none. There's a hormone in women called AMH. And for a woman my age, it should be 3 and above. Mine was 0.03. So my chances were literally barely, it was barely registering as anything to fall pregnant. So it was just about faith at that time. And after I had that loss, I stayed in bed for a week. Legitimately stayed in bed for a week. I got up to get my daughter ready for school and then got back into bed. I think it really freaked my husband out, because I don't think anyone's seen me experience a low like that. I haven't seen myself experience a low like that. But I think also what it was just a lot at that time. And I knew also that the treatment was going to cause my endo to flare, because it's a lot of hormones that you take when you're doing IVF. So I knew, and then I lost that. When I lost the twins, it was June, and then by September I needed another surgery because it caused everything to just
Yeah.
flare up and ramp up. And so then I had that surgery in September, and we were actually told in June when we lost that you have to make a decision by 3 months if you're going to do another round. Because
Of IVF?
Yeah, you
Okay.
have to go in kind of quickly and keep going.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
IVF is not a...
You can't sit on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the 3-month mark came around, and then we had to have the surgery. So it was like it at least put a pause on that. And we were supposed to decide within a month or so after that, are we going to try again? And I was just like, I can't do IVF again. There's nothing that is pushing me to try IVF right now. There's no way. And we're like, okay, let's get to the new year and see what happens. And I also, in October, stopped working. So there was a lot of things to consider with IVF. I mean, IVF at the lowest range could be about 60,000 rand.
Okay.
And that's
like entry level.
yeah, that's like very rare that you're
Yes.
going to be paying that amount, but that's the lowest you can possibly pay for it. So there was lots of things to consider, but also just mentally, I was like,
You can't put yourself through it.
Yeah. And I also had to think about the fact that I had a child,
Yes.
you know, and I'm putting my body through all of these things, and I'm putting my mind and my
Yes.
emotions.
And it's affecting her.
Yeah, you know, I remember when I finished the surgery, when I had the surgery and I got cleared after 6 weeks and I could pick her up, she was like, oh, you can pick me up again. And that was just like, for me, it was just like, this is not the life she should be living. She shouldn't be excited that I can pick her
Mom
up.
can pick her.
You know, like that should just be normal and part of our life. So I was just like, no. So we got cleared to start trying again. And I was tracking my cycle. I had my ovulation test, and I was keeping track of everything. And I started noticing things weren't lining up. So I just started tracking sooner. I changed things. And then by some miracle, literally
Sure.
by God, in December we fell pregnant. We found out in Jan of this year, but I was tracking my cycle. Like I said, I was tracking my cycle. I had noticed my cycle, according to what should be happening, was not happening. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to start testing. If my if my fertile window on my tracking is saying that it's Wednesday, I'm going to start tracking from Saturday.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm getting these positive ovulation tests on the Monday, but I should be ovulating on the Wednesday.
Wow.
This is
The fact that you know this stuff about your body is even like
I just
amazing,
have to be
because
so
I don't
aware
even know that stuff
Yeah.
about my body. Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, these things are not adding up, but okay. And then you get that smiley face on your ovulation test, and you're like, right, so
Okay.
let's get down to business. And that was mid-December, around the public holiday.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no one can ever tell me I don't know when I fell pregnant.
Yeah.
I know when I fell pregnant. There's nothing you can't.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I
You
know.
two on top of it.
Yeah, I know when I fell pregnant with Gia. I know when I fell pregnant with you.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
room for guessing here.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think anything of it. You
Yeah.
know, I was just like, okay, I'm tracking, we're trying. And then we were supposed to go back to the fertility doctor in Jan and get a new plan sorted. What's going to be the next step? Because my cutoff was 30 for myself.
Oh, okay.
No one gave me the cutoff, but
Okay.
I gave myself the cutoff because I don't want to be pregnant in my 30s, for one. And I just felt like my body had been through enough.
Okay.
And so my doctor and I made a deal. She hates when I say this, but we made a deal that once I turn 30, if there's no baby, by the end of the year, so around this time, I will be having a hysterectomy. I don't care. And her part of the deal was that if we do that, she will do my hysterectomy, but I must freeze my eggs. So that if I change my mind and I do want a second,
Yeah.
then I can get a surrogate or something. It's just so that there's a backup plan and everyone's covered. I said, fine, I will do that for you, but you're taking it all out.
Yeah.
Look at the
And
surgery you're doing now.
yeah, now at the end of the year, I'm doing a C-section instead of a hysterectomy, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
But like I said, I didn't think anything of it. I tracked my cycle and we did what we needed to do and went on with Christmas, went on with December, and we had a good old December.
Yes.
We
Yes.
were indulging in
Yes.
life, it's like
Yes. You just
blowing
were
off
loving
steam.
normal.
Exactly.
And maybe that's probably was the best gift because you weren't all in your head about
Oh no,
is
I
it
was
gonna
all in my head.
Oh, were you?
No, no. Everyone's like, you see what happens when you relax? Nope. I was like, I knew when my period was coming. I knew when I was ovulating. I knew, I might not have been externally showing it, and it wasn't the same journey of, injections and this and that.
Yeah.
But I was very much, even though we went on and had a good December and still Christmas and New Year's and everything, I was still like, okay, my cycle's supposed to come in a day. It's not here yet. Okay, it's 2 days now, I was very much all in my head, but I was also in a space of whatever will be, will be. Wherever God decides to take us now, it's going to happen. And even if you watch the video of us finding out, there was complete shock. Because there was just nothing pregnancy symptoms and period symptoms are so similar. It's always playing tricks on your mind. So you're like, maybe, that's a little cramped. I felt that little twinge.
Especially when you're like waiting for it to happen. It's almost like the period symptoms is feeling like you must be pregnant.
Exactly.
Because
then you're sitting there and you're like, could that be implantation or is it a period cramp? Could that, I'm feeling a bit sensitive. Is it my period or is it pregnancy? Yeah. So, and it is so beautiful also because my mom's mom, her birthday is the 4th of Jan, and we found out on the 5th of Jan. We were going to test on the 4th, but my husband was nervous. He was just like, I think it's too early, let's wait. And I always tease him. I was like, you see, we could have found it. And she's passed away now for years. I barely knew her. She passed away when I was 6 years old. So it kind of felt like, there was like a
full
touched
circle
by her kind of moment also. And then we found out on the 5th of Jan. And it was just like, what? You take the test and you hoping that stick is gonna turn positive,
But nothing prepares for
nothing
for that 2 lines.
Yeah, that moment was so similar to with Gia also, because like I said, with Gia we were gonna do the IUI and we were scared.
And God was just like,
I
got you.
You did everything that you needed to do. Science took you as far as it could.
Yes.
I'm gonna step in now. And I really feel that. And it was a time of real blind faith, because at the end of the day, I knew I wanted another one, and my daughter wanted a sibling, and she wanted a sister, but she wanted one, and I think that was also part of the guilt that I was feeling, that I couldn't do that for her. And I really wanted to. I wanted to give her a sibling so desperately. And she would pray every night.
That's very sweet.
Can I please have a sister? The pressure. But it just felt like such a ordained by God moment also, because when you have infertility, everything seems hopeless. You go for all these scans and they're like, oh, there's 2 follicles, or your AMH is 0.03, and
it's always like dire news. It's never like, oh, it needs to be this, and you're just almost there. It's almost like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and sometimes you go to these appointments and it's like, your uterus looks great. So now what? It's a great uterus. Cool. Put something in there. What do you mean? So it's just like that constant struggle of remaining faithful and remaining hopeful in what seems like the most hopeless situation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you for anybody that's listening now, that's in their waiting season, that's going through all of that. What advice would you give them
Oh, um,
if you were the one on the
Still
other
waiting.
side? Yes.
Trust both. And by that I mean trust your faith and trust the science. Because we can have blind faith and we can trust it, but that doesn't mean you must stop going to your doctor. Because I had a lot of people being like, oh, God will make it happen, just trust in God. And absolutely, but God also puts these people in our lives for a reason. And I firmly believe that if I didn't do IVF, if I didn't have those surgeries that I had last year, the environment wouldn't have been as conducive to the fruit that I'm bearing now. And also walk with God on the journey. It's hard. It's hard to remain faithful when the situation seems hopeless. When you're getting all these negative results. But walk with him and take him with you on the journey where you're going. Because he's there. He's waiting to come with you. You just have to let him in. You just have to allow him to want to be with you. And don't try and rush it. Sometimes it can feel like you're rushing it, and sometimes I felt that way, because the truth of the matter is at 24, when I got married and being told you have to have a baby now, that wasn't my life plan. Obviously I knew I wanted to be a mom, but would I have waited until I was 30? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but things will happen when they're supposed to happen. And in the way that it's supposed to happen. And that, like I said, that doesn't mean that you stop listening to your doctor or you completely disregard the advice of medical professionals. Trust both elements and see where it can take you and how it can lead you. And have those conversations with God that you probably can't voice to other people in your life. Like, I don't know if I always voiced to my family or my husband or anyone how frustrated I was. But I told God, I let him know that I'm really tired of this now. Come now, please.
Yeah.
And he shows a way. I'm a big worship music kind of girl, and that was big for me at the time, like listening to my worship music and finding the song that's going to be like, this is going to take me through the journey. So finding also those comforting things in that time of waiting, in that time of what feels like emptiness, is also so important. And it was for me.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you for sharing your story with us. We really loved having you here, and I think that you've covered a lot over these past few minutes. Thank you so much. Anything from your side?
Yeah, I think it was so good. It was really lovely to hear your story and to just hear your faith through it, and to just, how you saying, have grace with yourself. If you're down, if you just be real about it, like be real with yourself, be real with God about it. And I think just to hear the miracle of, like, I'm just always in awe of our God is just so good, and he's the author of life and death, and he decides, and I'm just so grateful for you and your family and for your journey. And God bless you guys in this new season.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me and being willing to share and talk about these things. Endometriosis is very underrepresented in South Africa. It affects 1 in 10 women. It's very common, but it's not something that's spoken about enough, and it's underdiagnosed and underrepresented. So I think you guys are doing something really great to also want to talk about these things, especially through the lens of faith. It's always obviously through science, but thank you for having me and creating the space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And you can catch us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and on YouTube. I'm sure you're watching this on YouTube, and on Instagram and TikTok. Wherever you are, we are there too. Bye, guys.